tiny little speck of rural poverty known as Wallace, New York. It's nestled right in between Avoca and Cohocton in Steuben County. And that's kind of important to understanding my story. I was raised as a Jehovah's Witness, and I was homeschooled way out there in the middle of nowhere. So for me, my sort of exposure to even gay issues didn't come about until much later in my life. I remember growing up as a Jehovah's Witness, and my only exposure to homosexuality was in a book called You Can Live Forever in Paradise on Earth. And in that book there was this full-page illustration of a nuclear bomb going off and a young child starving in Africa and a man in a gas mask and then two young men dancing cheek to cheek shirtless on the disco floor. And on the bottom of the page the caption read, all these things God will do away with in his coming kingdom. Yeah. As a teenager, I became a minister in my religion. I served as a full-time minister for 3 years of my life, from the ages of 15 to 18. And at 18, I decided I didn't want to live in rural poverty for the rest of my life, and that I was going to go to college, and I didn't know what I was going to do with it, but when I got to college, it was during my freshman orientation, and for the first time in my life, I heard this term, transgender. And the term was explained to me, and it was this really weird moment where I was just like, oh, there's a word for me? And so that led to this sort of voyage of self-discovery that went on over the next few years while I was there. I was the only out transgender student at my college at SUNY Geneseo. And so I sort of became this one-woman army, educating my campus about the issues that people like me face. Issues in housing, issues in public facilities, issues in the classroom. During this process, I was coming out to myself, I was coming out to my college campus, I was also coming out to my family. And coming from such a religious background as I do, this was kind of difficult. I actually came out to my mom 3 times, and the first 2 times I wound up going back in, I suppose, because of the pressures that were coming from my family. I don't know how familiar anyone in the audience is with Jehovah's Witnesses, but it's a very strict, conservative Christian religion. And when I finally did come out, and it stuck, I suppose, I was disfellowshipped from the religion. And I have not had contact with my family or my community before college since then, in the 2 years since then. I've been very blessed though, because in the process of coming out and finding myself, I also found new family and new community. I currently live in the city of Rochester with my partners Liz and Andrea and our cat Boris, who's my sweetie pie. And I work at the Gay Alliance of the Genesee Valley as a member of Rochester AmeriCorps. My job is awesome. I work with lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender youth in our youth center. And it's sort of become my mission, in addition to doing this kind of education work, to provide the kinds of community that people like me really need, and that our youth can have to foster good sense of self and find their place with themselves and in the world we live in today. So that's me. Thank you for having me today.